What is up, y'all? We are up for another round of JJK. Finally, the beginning of the highly anticipated Shibuya arc. I am so excited to talk about this episode. I think it truly delivered on expectations. Now, I don't have Hannah and Emily with me, as they are both on vacation. However, I do have two special guests with me, returning for the second appearance in what I think is a month's time. Welcome back, Noah Gloss. Tell us a little bit about where you stand with JJK.
Thank you, Brian. I'm so happy to be here again. But where I stand on Jujutsu Kaisen is very limited. I will say limited quantity. I have not read ahead of Shibuya arc. I don't know what this incident entails, but I've been saying it's a blessing and a curse, no pun intended, because I love consuming things for the first time. But I do want to know, I want to know how these choices and all this stuff is panning out. I know it's going to mess me up. I'm on the same boat as Hannah. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, perfect. And our second guest we have with us today hasn't been on the show since Sonomi and Genya backstory episode of the Swordsmith Village arc. Our returning attorney of defense for them is the one weeb who vibes, Hayley. Welcome back, and let us know where you're at with JJK.
Hi, I'm so excited about JJK. It's been my entire personality. I have been a JJK defender, even like when I was defending Sanemi and Genya. So like now that I'm here in Shibuya, I am so excited. I am fully caught up with the manga. We put lashes on so that we don't sob because so that's why we look the way we do. I have to, rep my favorite anime. So I'm so excited about Shibuya. Like, y'all understand. I got the Yoimo earrings. Like, we are ready to dive into pain.
Oh, no.
No.
It wouldn't be an episode of this podcast if I didn't make a reference to Naruto, but this world shall know pain. And this is exactly what that arc is.
Oh, no.
So, we open the episode in present day. Our little trio, Nobara, Megami, and Yuji. Megami wants to go home. Sad boy vibes, I get it. Nobara says she's going to go shopping, and Yuji wants to go see a movie and talks about the plot and themes. Now, one thing I want to call attention to is in this movie that we are being presented, Earthworm Human 4 is the plot of itself. And we see that there's a girl talking to this Earthwormo man, as they refer to him, supposedly falling in love with him, and says that we're the monsters if we kill him. How do you think this little moment relates to what's coming in this arc? And any possible hints of foreshadowing?
Ooh, what a deep question. Oh my god, so philosophical about a worm. I was like, this is a little deep for a worm. I feel like I feel like it really does relate to, like, because this is all about curses. Like, he essentially turned into something that is of a curse and stuff. And, everybody's been talking about Shibuya since like season 1. Like Ghetto has been referring to it. So I feel like it's kind of showing, and also I feel like it made me think about the movie about like love being the most twisted curse of all, and how like things that matter the most to us like kind of transcribes over here, that the things that matter the most is what will cause the most danger. So I feel like it's foreshadowing that people that we love to see, or people who love each other around each other, this is going to gravely be the biggest curse amongst the society of jujitsu world. So, but that worm, nasty. Not going to see that movie. So, but it's really deep though, for sure.
I mean, if the movie has like over maybe a 70% of Rotten Tomatoes, maybe I'd see it. But from me just being like an anime only surface, yeah, you're welcome. For me being like literally on the surface of this, still diving deep, hopefully into this kind of concept from like the hidden inventory arc, with how connected that was. And that's not really a spoiler because they showed that right before this, and I think there was meaning behind that to kind of like sandwich that. Gojo and Ghetto can be looked at as main characters in their own way, central characters, and I feel like this arc, just from what we've seen from our favorite trio, connections and friendship and love are all important, no matter how you see that. I think their view of that is going to be really important, and I think it might make them have to make certain decisions that they don't want to. I don't like that laugh. I don't like that laugh.
It's
Ryan's doing the
scared.
diabolical
I'm
laugh. I'm
scared.
trying so hard to like.
Well, that's the first
I
one.
can't not laugh because you're not wrong, and that's the thing is I can't say
I
anything,
know I'm
but
not.
I
know
like
I'm
your
not.
I
It's
like your answer.
symbolism.
You know what, Haley? I like it as well. Whew. All right, cool. Well, after we have our little freak out about a movie and shopping, we pan to Toto, our besto friendo, and Mei, recommending 5 sorcerers for grade 1 promotion. Now, these include Maki Zenin, Panda, Megami Fushiguro, Nobara, and Yuji. How exciting! However, the excitement seems to fall quickly as the scene ends with Toto getting his bubble burst that he won't be able to accompany his brother on missions. Also, the ping pong scene was so good.
Literally, Toto was definitely like just from season 1, he was an immediate standout. Gojo is my favorite character as of right now, but Toto was definitely my favorite supporting, and just his connection and the comedic relief but still being like a badass. It was just so captivating to watch on screen and definitely kept you engaged. So just seeing this and having this kind of be like a hook for the beginning of the Shibuya arc. Again, there's an incident happening. This people may think this is the incident, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Things happen for a reason, but it was nice to see him kind of relief, a little bit of stress that might come back soon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, first things first, Mei like crushed Toto with the ping pong scene. Like, she really like put him to work, and was like, "Oh, my best of friend," and I was just like, "Okay, you lost. We can't go on missions." And like that's that. So that scene was really satisfying to see. The animation was like incredible. Like the change, by the way, was amazing for this. So clean. I'm so excited for all of our favorite characters to be considered grade 1 sorcerers, especially Maki in particular, because of her kind of disadvantage to everyone else, that she can't really see curses without her glasses. So the fact that she's already being acknowledged as like a grade 1 sorcerer can kind of already show you where the direction this is going for the show, that everybody here with the potential that they have is going to be, it's going to be insane. So I'm so excited to see these types of missions too, and I feel like that could also be a part of the Shibuya incident, is like the missions that we saw in season 1 to the missions that we're going to see now is going to be like a slap to the face of how insane this is going to be. So I'm so excited to see it all in action again.
I really like that you, Haley, kind of brought up the missions, and I want to tie it back to something that the principal was, or not the principal. I forget what his position is. Nonetheless, the old guy. You would
Crusty
think,
Dusty Man, yeah,
yeah,
that
you
one.
guys would think not a manga reader from this, but I assure you I am. He talked about how the grade 1 sorcerers are going to be the ones who are going to lead the world, and those are the ones who are going to be really standing tall for the jiu-jitsu world, and I think that's very true going forward. As sometimes even in leadership in like the real world, like the leader does things, yes, but it's like really the people who are on the ground making changes. So I thought that was a really cool kind of way to tie into these main characters as to how they're going to affect the plot going forward, which is really nice. Always good to see a little bit of character development from the start. And so as we kind of pack to the opening scene, there's a lot to unpack here. I think it's amazing in every ways. And this opening really, like the song, I think the visuals, this is one of like already my favorite anime openings. I think I'm going to give a good, nod and pat on the shoulder there. Now, notoriously, anime openings contain a lot of clues as to what can happen into an arc. Any predictions from Noah, or any just favorite call outs from this opening in general?
Oh my God. This opening, we're not going to talk about this opening too extensively because of like when I was looking at this, I was like, oh, I'm like, oh. My favorite thing was the change from how the hidden inventory arc was so bright and full of color and how dark this is. And I'm glad that they did that. Also, the white line that was in the hidden inventory arc of Gojo and Geto being together, to then the black line that separates them to kind of signify that they both, like, Geto went down his own path and that's the life that he chose. We're not going to talk about how that made me feel because that's why these lashes won't serve its purpose right now. But in terms of cinematic parts, it was amazing, and I really liked that detail. Considering it went from them being one and like the strongest to now them kind of forging their own path. That was one of my favorite details about it. And there's a certain detail that I would love to go further into, but it has Megami involved in the opening that was really, really excited to see more of my son's potential. So yeah, those were some favorite calls. My predictions is that we're gonna be a mess. Like, I'm not positive about many things, but I'm positive this is gonna wreck me, is what it's gonna be. So
I am a head out.
I'm just scared. I'm scared. Okay, I'm scared. I'm really glad you said that contrast from like the hidden inventory arc intro to this. I genuinely have not thought of that until you just said that, like that contrast, which is really effed up, because I think Mappa and that it's messed up in a good way because we were consuming so much light. I wouldn't say maybe it was like happy moments, maybe optimism. There was it was a beautiful arc, right? And there's an obvious contrast they want to kind of hit us with, and the main takeaway I got from it, which creeps me out, is how all of the characters were kind of walking in this zombie like fashion. It was this kind of aesthetic. They started with the opening, and you catch it right away, and you see all of our title characters that we're probably going to be seeing again from season 1 that we haven't seen from in hidden inventory. And it was creeping me out. Like it genuinely was, because it felt like they were kind of embodying this kind of zombie like movement, whether that was physically or maybe if they're mentally feeling kind of some sort of turmoil. But there were obvious zoom ins and pans on certain characters that I feel like are gonna hit the more we watch, and then we're gonna look back on this intro and be like, wow, like we'll probably maybe cry, shed some a tear watching it, because we're gonna see how this beautiful opening encapsulates probably the turmoil that we're all gonna face.
Yeah, this opening, I would say, like I said, this opening's pretty fire. Anyone, you guys seen Big Hero 6, the Disney movie? You guys remember the song Immortals from the movie? Like, doesn't it sound like that? Like,
it does. Oh my god, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. I think that's just a cool detail. I don't know if it really relates to the theme. It's like, da 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 da, because we could be immortals. You are my special. Oh, I can put a little beatbox, like.
Podcast turned DJ club. Kill him.
Wow.
Get it.
Wow.
Curse technique, beatboxing.
Grade 1. Mixtape.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is Noah talking about how the characters we're going to see again. I love, you guys know this, I love villains, and I also love like the ugly characters too. So I'm so excited to see Jogo back, my one-eyed boy.
Stop. No, they're my least favorite.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Are you kidding me?
He's great.
You could have said any. Nah. You could have said any other character.
He looks like Mike Wazowski's cousin. He literally is Mike Wazowski's cousin. What are you talking about? The one that nobody likes at the family function?
No, he gives me nightmares. Like, why do you that's not horror. That's just
him
nightmare
and Mahito.
Those are two separate.
Those two?
Yeah. Separate.
Oh, no. We're going to, like, separate. Wait, hold on. What's that audio called? I'm gonna just have to like bring you back down to earth for a second. I love the enthusiasm. You are not going to like Jogo. You're not getting those Taylor Swift tickets. But I love the enthusiasm here. You're not gonna tell me that Mike Wazowski's cousin and a terrible cosplaying Frankenstein is gonna be your favorite things of Shibuya. Okay, I won't allow it. But I love the enthusiasm.
I think it's more so what we know for what's to come. So we'll leave that there. I guess this is not a Jogo love account.
No.
Here we are.
No. That was funny. That was funny you thought that.
I know. You thought you ate that. No.
I thought I was.
The food is still on the plate. Untouched.
Okay. All right, well, just before the opening plays, we see someone approach Nobara about being with Yuji. This picks back up after the opening finishes as they're at a restaurant, and it looks like a former classmate of Yuji is around. Yuko Ozawa. We learn through a flashback that all of the girls in the class, even though she was being called fat, Yuji still found her appealing due to the small things about her. How does this characterize Yuji overall and influence how we perceive him, knowing that he saw these things that the other boys didn't as a teenager?
This moment made me so happy because they could have easily taken the writing, to that turn that you kind of were inferencing as it was going on, because that's what storytelling does. But it literally warms your heart, and honestly, for me, it kind of seals the deal with Yuji being just such a human being, and there is a lot of symbolism with that, because he kind of ate a finger. He was a little hungry, ate a finger, has something inside him, but there's a lot of humanity that we get with this first half of the episode, which I love. And so simple as a flashback and connection to the present, it just makes his character a lot more grounded and strong, especially on that human side. And I think we should really cherish that right now, because we might, that could be forgotten, or humanity could be forgotten, as we move forward.
Wow. That was so philosophical.
This
My
is what
goodness.
this is what
I don't
happens
even know
when
if I
you
could
research.
top that. Okay, we're not doing this here. As a manga reader, we're gonna put that in timeout. We're gonna address that later. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna put a pin in that for now. Crazy. Anyways, as I was going to say before research was thrown at me, I think that I love my son Yuji. First of all, this just further proves my point that he's such a ray of sunshine, and he's like the purest being on planet. That the fact that he could still find her so appealing, he's not looking at the appearance, he's looking at the character and who the individual is, and he's looking past that. First of all, I also want to commend Jujutsu Kaisen for giving such great representation for this, of people with body shaming and things like that, and having this kind of being the main character being I don't care about what they look like I care about who they are as an individual. And with Jujutsu Kaisen being one of the most popular animes in the world, especially right now, this is the type of media that we should be seeing for all of the future generations to come, and even the generations now. I feel is such a great way of showing it, and I just adore Yuji for it. And I adore everyone at Mappa and Gege. The one time I will give Gege some slack about being a good person here, because normally I'm fighting Gege most of the time, but for this I will let it slide in that, since he was doing some good. So I really like this type of representation that they provided for the show. I think it was a really nice touch to it, and how they did it was so beautiful and executed exactly how I envisioned it would be. So I loved it.
I thought that this was so sweet to see, just because they even asked him well, what about girls with big boobs and tall? And he's like, well, that's different. And it's he knows it's an idolized fantasy, of course, and realistically, judging people for who they are, not what they look like, is so important. So I really like how both of you are Yuji stans. We all stand Yuji in this house. I'm sure I brought this up on the podcast before, but I just want to make sure you guys are aware. In my book, Anya Forger, Yuji Isadori, they are soul siblings, no arguments. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I saw a TikTok edit that was both of them going waku waku, and I was it's in.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, no, they are
perfect. All right, well, glad we agree on something here.
Yeah, because we did our research on that one.
You know what? You gotta get philosophical sometimes. Sometimes, I feel that's what this arc is gonna entail too.
I have to I'm just gonna wipe that psychology degree. I'm just gonna move that out of the frame.
Wipe it. I got mine right there. I just can't. I can't move. I don't
have
move
a degree. All right. Well, eventually the slice of life does end, and so sad. We cut to a rain scene after the title card with Utsuhime flashing back to a conversation with Gojo and the trio showing up. Conversation starts off wild as she's specifically talking about someone who would be linking information to the bad guys on lower levels, and we cut to Mechamaru. Anyone expect this situation?
I actually did because you know what? I really did see this coming because I was looking back to like season 1 before I watched the new season, and I was like, you know, it's kind of shady that like there's just how all this information keeps constantly getting out. Like, how do these curses know where Gojo is? How do these curses know like about the sister exchange event? Like, how else would they know about this type of information if there wasn't somebody like spewing like little pieces of information? And plus, if you really noticed from last season, Mechamaru wasn't in there a whole lot. Like, compared to everyone from Kyoto, I feel like he was like one of the few characters from there that we didn't really see a whole lot. Like, he had his moment with Panda in season 1, but like other than that, like that's really it. Like, you don't really see him. So that kind of made me a little bit suspicious about it. So when I saw that he was like kind of the person that was leaking the information, I was kind of not shocked by this in the sense that he was being the traitor for it. And honestly, like, given his situation, like, he's constantly miserable. Like, he literally is in a bathtub full of his own blood, covered in bandages and stuff. Like, he can't really do much. So he's kind of like, what more does he have to live for type of thing. So yeah, I wasn't really too shocked that out of everyone it was him to do that.
I do agree with that. The whole trader kind of thing does make sense with like the elements from season 1, kind of like inferring that. But from kind of like a timeline standpoint, from my view, I totally was not expecting that to be like the next thing to see, let alone I guess like involved with him. To be honest, like we all know there is, a shit ton of characters in this story. Like there is a ton, and I'm honestly and on it, and I did forget like a little bit of kind of his, story and how he was introduced. So when I was watching it, I was trying to process, kind of remembering, how important, his impact. And then all of that slowly was kind of making more sense and kind of peeling of an onion when Geto and Mahito come into play. And that was just, it was very tense. And yeah, definitely so unknown to what could be happening next with this.
Yeah, I'm on Noah's side on this one. I had no idea this was coming, and like I'm awful like about remembering things from like shows because like I'm like, oh great, like I read it all, great, like that's how it is kind of for One Piece, like because I will read JJK for like a couple days and then I'll read like Chainsaw Man or Boruto, and then I'm like coming back to One Piece and I'm like I have no idea what's happening. Same thing here. I was like, who's Mechamaru? I was like, literally, who is that? And I was like, oh, that guy, I remember him. So like, it was kind of like rewatching the series a little bit, finding all this out. I was like, damn, all right, great. But from there, we see the trio arriving at the supposed destination for Mechamaru, claiming that they are here. And Mechamaru is like, oh, they're here. However, our trio barges into an empty room with Utsuhime. When we go back to Mechamaru and we see Geto and Mahito enter the room. Now, as Hayley previously mentioned, he's in a bathtub with wires and hoses attached to him and is asking if his body will be fixed. Even though Geto agrees to continue to fix him, he said the killing comes after. This was a scene that was pretty cool. How did you guys think it was portrayed, or what did you guys like about how it was portrayed? And what did you guys like about how they revealed all of this kind of context to us?
Definitely kind of when I was thinking about kind of like, I didn't really know what was happening, forgetting Mechamaru, kind of like confusion. And it was, starting to make sense once Geto and Mahito were coming into that picture because, we all know their dynamics, and especially Geto and Mahito, and seeing this interaction was really, really, captivating because they're all, both of them together are very engaging characters, whether you like them or not. They, have goals and ideals that they kind of always want to aim at, every time they're, on screen or, flipping the next page. But the MAPPA animation and it was just it's just another introduction of how amazing they are and consistent they stay with the storytelling, and seeing Mechamaru, just all of that was crazy.
Yeah, I really liked how that was really portrayed. I also really like Mechamaru like as a character itself, because paneling back to like hidden inventory arc, because they talk about Mechamaru having a heavenly pact or heavenly restriction, and we've now seen two sides of that spectrum where you have somebody like Toji who is like he has a heavenly pact and he has no cursed energy, but he's got heightened senses. His physical strength is like crazy to the point of like superhuman level, and then you see somebody like Mechamaru who also has a heavenly pact that they were mentioning, but his body is so frail and weak. Like his curse energy is so crazy, like he can't even use it because of how frail it is. So it's really interesting to see that dynamic of like the hidden inventory arc to hear about like heavenly pacts for one. For two, I really liked how there's still gonna be like the like Ghetto's like, okay, like you're gonna fix his body, but we're still gonna kill you afterwards because you can't be trusted. You're still part of the jujitsu world. So even though you gave us this information, we just used you as intel, and now we have to scrap our sources so that people don't find out about it. Even though people were already kind of having their suspicions that it was him, they still just want to clean up their tracks. And I think that's really great in terms of like being so thorough, like with villains. Like this is one of the things I did like about the JJK is that how thorough and very well detailed these like with their plan and stuff. Like Ghetto is very much like we cannot make a single mistake at all. Like we have to make sure that we're not just going into this with pure emotion. Like there's a lot of logic in here. And that's what makes it so great to see, and especially for what's coming in the future, is that it's very calculated. And there's like, that's what I think I enjoyed the most about that particular scene.
Damn, that was a lot. I don't think I
Was a
can
lot to
stand
unpack.
that. There was research done for that.
Exactly. I did my research. I did my homework. I did my homework.
Oh, and then Mahito from there is using his idol transfiguration to fix Mechamaru, and we see some really cool animation. Nonetheless, this scene is only just the beginning, but into the battle we go. It's a quick scene, but this was a cool exchange. What did you guys think about this little quick peek we had?
As much as I don't like Mahito, I do think it was really interesting to see his technique being able to use to fix somebody rather than like turn somebody into a transfigured human. Like you're able to like correct it somebody's body, which I thought was really cool. I'm really, really excited about how this battle is going to go out, is because of now we're seeing like Mechamaru's true ability, like without any limitations now, since his body's been fixed. And I really liked the way that on both sides of the coin of like how I said before, like Ghetto is still planning to kill him afterwards, even after they fix his body. However, Mechamaru also is like, oh, like just because I gave you information doesn't mean like y'all are safe. Like he was just like, I feel like it's very an interesting dynamic that they're both out to get each other, but they both betrayed their own things in their own way. So it's just kind of like this weird kind of like betrayal and trust and this and that. So it's a very unique fight to see. It's like a neutral gray area type of fight. Like there's nothing morally good or nothing morally bad about this. It's just very much a gray area in regards to this. And I think that's really cool. And I like to see that instead of having it being like a black or white situation, it's like, how do you really make a conclusion about this? It's just a good ass fight, is all I could say.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. You basically like that was exactly how I felt, because it was, you know, like when I was watching it, you know, not knowing what's ahead, you know, I'm just like, shit, like this is cool, you know? Like I don't like Mahito at all either, but there was some the techniques and the kind of illustration to animation. Don't laugh. There's things that I'm scared to find out. But again, it does feel like kind of like a gray area, because we're seeing a lot of distrust, and I feel like that's going to be a common theme as we go along.
No, I was just thinking about stating another hot take, but I don't want to be burnt at the stake today.
No, give us your research. Tell us what your
Come
hot
on.
take is.
You already talked about Mike Wazowski. It's
Don't be
fine.
shy.
It's fine.
Yeah. You were trying to talk
So,
about Mike
like,
Wazowski's
what if I were to
unwanted
tell you
cousin.
guys that I kind of like Mahito?
And you also like Dome.
I
And you
think
want a care
Mahito.
package of... I have a
Yeah,
care package of
Mahito is the
Mahito
Doma
stuff.
of this series.
He is.
Ugh.
That's why I don't like him.
He is.
Yeah, I don't like him. He's ugly, he's stupid, he literally is just like, it makes me want to vomit every time I look at him. And he's just weird. He's so creepy. Like, he's just like, I don't like his technique at all. Like, the way that he, like, turns people into these, like, nasty little, like, gremlins. And, like, on top of that, he's like, like, whatever. Like, no, ew. I mean, I like that he's pure evil, but, like, he's not appealing to look at. And he's just, ugh, gets on my nerves. I cannot stand him. So if you want a Mahito package, Brian, I have a bunch of Mahito stuff that I don't want for my shrine. I can't have it infect my Gojo shrine because that's how much I don't like Mahito. So I could gladly give you some Mahito.
He needs it. He needs it.
I'll send you my address later.
Yeah, I will gladly give this to you because I don't want it in my house. I'm like,
Cursed energy away.
cursed energy. Ugh.
All right. But we thought it was over after seeing Mechamaru possibly escaping, but really was gearing up for round 2. And he put the mech in Mechamaru right here. And he's starting to act like a transformer because all of a sudden he pops up out of the water. He like blows everything sky high. And he starts talking about how he has his own win condition for this fight, that he wants to get to Gojo. And we kind of see that is the one thing I like about JJK, just to kind of pause though, is like as things are happening and like they give you these clarifying moments with these little chibi figures, he like had these 3 plans lined out in his head of like, I'll text Gojo, I will get to Gojo physically, or I'm gonna call him. And even though he's a mole, he's still trying to get back to the JJK world, kind of like Hayley mentioned in her previous answer. Isn't this a little strange?
That is really strange. I never really thought of that because again, it kind of moves so fast, so slow. Takes there's a lot. It's great pacing overall, but this whole transformation, like, it's kind of crazy because for any Evangelion fans out there, I am just watching that right now, and I'm loving it. It's craziness. This is reminding me a lot of that. It's just like the whole vibe of like this kind of mechanical powerhouse that might destroy something that we're not gonna be happy that it destroys. So this is really interesting to see because I feel like, again, what you're saying, how like limitless possibilities there are, that is incredibly scary.
Yeah, I really thought it was a little bit strange. First of all, I was trying so hard to keep my laughter. And when you said Transformers, I'm glad that you and I thought the same thing when we watched that because I was like, not Optimus Prime rolling out here. This is great.
The other one I thought of was the Power Rangers Megazord.
Yep.
Oh my god!
Yep.
I thought instead of Optimus Prime, I was thinking subliminal, like no objective, more so. Yeah, I was just like, I was laughing so hard. I mean, the design of it's really cool. Let me not like clown on that because it was really cool to see that. First of all, he's got like puppet manipulation, but he has this massive thing. And a detail that I really liked about it is that he says he saw everything. Like he literally has watched every single thing that happened in season 1 that we were seeing from our perspective. So it was really cool to be like, so he was also watching like especially his fight with like Gojo versus Jogo and the whole sister exchange event, and even when Yuji was like fighting and getting the curse for the first time, like he saw everything. So it was like, okay, Makima, go off, type of thing. Like I'm always watching, type of thing. And I was like, so I thought it was a really nice detail to that he has also been prepared. So like the whole betrayal thing, like the villains may have been getting information from him, but he also was watching what they were doing so that he could kind of have this trump card being like, oh, like I may have been helping you out, but I've also been sneaking behind your back and finding out details about you so that I could go tell Gojo about it and then he could go take care of it. He really was also just as calculated as the villains were, which is why this fight is so interesting on a numerous level is that it's just like there's so much sneaking around and so much like, as I call it, Uno reverse cards that were done back and forth to each other, but neither one knew about the other doing it. So it's just like element of surprise type of thing is what I really liked to see.
This fight, I really like how they took this fight for episode 1 to really take us this far was really cool. And one of the last parts of this fight we see is the time counter in Mechamaru's robot that says 17 years, 5 months, and 6 days. That's supposedly the amount of time he was bound, and the cursed energy has been storing away to use his power. As this episode closes, we see him shoot a blast that's supposed to contain a year and then some of cursed energy at point blank to Mahito. What a cliffhanger.
That really was a cliffhanger, which makes me so excited to see the next episode for that. I hope they kind of dive more into that whole 17 years thing. Like, if he uses, like, so say a year of his, like, the power that he was talking about, like, does that take a year off of him type of thing? Like, is it one of those type of situations? Or is it kind of like, oh, he had all of this energy stored up, and, like, what if he runs out of it? Is kind of my question towards it is like, okay, he has all this energy here, but like what happens if like he uses all of it? Does that mean like the machines don't work? Does that mean his curse technique is gone and he can't fight? Like I feel like there's some limitations with this, even though he had a lot of it stored upwards. So it's really interesting. I mean, I think it's really cool like how he did it with Mahito. So I'm very excited to see how it's gonna play out in the next episode. But it does make me wonder like what are the limitations to it? Because I can already see a bit of flaw with this, with it only having 17 years. Well, technically now 16 years because he used a whole year against him to blast him. So I who knows like what that's gonna look like in terms of how it's gonna play out.
Yeah, the only thing I'm really thinking of is like, wherever he's taking this energy, Yuji, Nobara, and Megami, wherever they are, they're probably going to be like, oh shit, this is happening. Like, there's going to be a connection, either, within minutes of the episode starting or right then and there. And I'm curious on how this kind of, all these years of storing and having this, seeing all these moments happen, how is this going to affect Mechamaru, but also this effect on him, who is it going to impact in the rest of the story? How important will it be? How is this going to unfold? Something like that.
Yeah, I really liked that last scene, and I think that is really cool that like he was able to store all of this energy up. It reminds me of something in Naruto that I can't say. I think it's too large of a spoiler, but there's a character who has a technique that's very similar to this, and when they activate it, it's like, let's go. So, unprompted Naruto references couldn't be me. That's a thought for another one. And now we have some questions from our guests, of course, and we'll start off with Haley's question.
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of thinking about this because I wanted to try to formulate it really well. But my question was, is like, as we dive further into the Shibuya incident, like how many past decisions will manifest the reality of an unforeseeable future, for what is going to play out, the show.
There's going to be a lot of past decisions. That's my answer to you, because we already saw that clear as day when the hidden inventory arc finished, when Gojo was waking up, and I was seeing a lot of that, a lot of TikToks and other videos of, for me, only knowing so much of like, there's like lines under his eyes and stuff, and just like, was he, he was dreaming, he woke up from that, he was thinking of this past, and there's a lot of reason as to why, again, mentioned this earlier, of why they start with this first before all hell might break loose. And I think it's because to understand the importance of the past, because we've been living so much in the present of Jujutsu Kaisen, that you need to now understand how much information has already happened with these characters that you have grown to know and love.
Yeah, I think kind of taking from where Noah was at, like past decisions, like I think it was interesting the way Mappa structured this storytelling decision, because they start with like season 1 of JJK, which is actually ahead in the timeline of JJK Zero. So I think realistically they are already kind of sequencing that as they show the actions that led to season one after season one actually happened. So I think it was kind of interesting because as we've come to know like who Sukuna is as a villain, right? I don't think we understand this when Gojo sat on Sukuna's back. Like as we get to know him more, like we understand the gravity of the moment and like the real meaning of what Yuji did by swallowing a finger. So I think that's really cool that you bring that up. That was a really good question. I like that one. And of course, we also have Noah's question. So go ahead.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy that we're really touching upon this as you know the more we were getting through this episode. But what I was thinking is, you know, betrayal and lack of trust. I feel like could be common themes. Now, could those two elements be an even more important theme the deeper we dive into the Shibuya incident?
Yeah, definitely. We do already see some of that even with this opening episode, right? Like Mahito wanting to break the pact, but he only follows through with it for his own self preservation. Looking forward, um, I think kind of like Demon Slayer, right? Like you have to be able to trust your teammates. And I think that's something that's going to become a very large component. And I think that's what's going to cause a lot of people to build attachments to characters in this arc is because there is a lot of that teamwork from, you know, our supporting cast to our main trio. So I think that there's going to be a lot of things that revolve around being able to trust the characters to make the right decisions and also them trusting their teammates.
Yeah, I like fully agree that betrayal and a lack of trust is, I feel like that's just an entire theme. Like, not even just in the Shibuya incident, but this entire franchise. Like, if you look through JJK as a whole, like, that is always constantly mentioned. So I 100% agree that it's going to take a bigger expansion on that in the Shibuya incident because it makes me think about, you know, as a whole, like with, you know, like as we keep saying, like the hidden inventory arc, which was such a beautiful lineup for bringing us back to the present. Like this gives us so much more context of what and how much deeper meaning of trust and betrayal really entails. And then also seeing it within the main trio itself. Like I always think about like, in a way, like I don't think Yuji meant to betray like Megumi, who he just met, but in the first episode he was like, "Don't eat the finger." He ate the finger right out the gate, and like right out. So you're already seeing this like misbalance of trust already being bestowed upon us in this show. So I definitely think as we expand further into the Shibuya incident, it's going to really unravel in a way that people are not ready to see. And it's gonna hurt. So
All right. Well, any final thoughts on the episode before we go off? Favorite
uh
moments.
I mean, I feel like it was such a good episode. Like a great intro to the Shibuya arc. Like I was mentioning this earlier because the first half of the episode was chapter 64 of like the manga, so I really was worried about how they were going to incorporate that since the hidden inventory arc, we skipped it and we went straight into chapter 65 for the hidden inventory arc. So I really liked how they were able to kind of bring that chapter back around and make it blend very well with what's happening in the manga so that it doesn't feel like, oh, let's just throw this chapter in here so that you know it's like whatever. I think it was executed really well to kind of be like, this may be one of the last moments that serotonin might course through my body. However, it was executed in a very nice way that it leads us for what's to come. So I thought it was done very well. And the foreshadowing was excellent for it.
Awesome. All right. Well, going on to favorite moments. My favorite moment from today's episode was being able to see Mechamaru unleash. Even though he's a little bit of an antagonist, right? I think he has some really cool powers, and I'm really excited to see the rest of the fight. I think that's going to be a really interesting one. I just love mechs and stuff, so I think it's kind of a gimme for.
Yeah, I really agree. Mechamaru was always somebody that I was interested in because of how little information we got from him. So now seeing him fully unleash his true potential and stuff like this was so awesome to see. And how like he can do all of these things that we just are like, it's all a shock factor to all of us. Like a character that we kind of already knew, and now it's like we're like relearning it all over again, like you said before. And it's such a refreshing kind of experience to see somebody kind of take the limelight, even though he is kind of a bit of an antagonist. It's like it's still really cool to see. and it's almost like, to me, an antagonist versus an antagonist fight, which I feel like I don't get to see very often, but I think it's really great how they're choosing to go about it. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I can't deny that moment is crazy and great, but I have to give love to the trio because that whole first half, as much as I know that we're not gonna have happy moments, like I know I get that, but I gotta take this time to I really love their whole bond and like the whole trio ness, because it just reminds me a lot of how these different worlds, of storytelling and the different pieces of anime we watch and read. These connections are so important, and again, like what Brian has said with these like attachments, and we've all kind of touched on that. I really just kind of wanted to end with connections are like really important to me, and just like seeing that on screen is so great. But we'll see that in different ways moving forward. We'll see how that impacts it. But yeah, they're definitely one of my favorite trios in all of anime that I've watched and read. There's something special that they have that I feel like other people may not have, that they kind of fill the gaps with. So yeah, it's really good to see.
All right, awesome. Well, you guys both picked pretty good moments. I like both of them a lot. I especially like the comedy Noah of the slice of life, because like the I'll summon Yuji right now when Nobara is like fiercely texting him. That was great.
It was perfect.
But one last thing before we go. Of course, we have our Taisho era secret. Now Hannah's going to be super proud of me on this one, so I hope you're listening. This time, right? So the Japanese language doesn't really make an L sound. So if you take a look, actually, when Nobara is calling Megami to the restaurant, when she says URL, it's a soft L. So she says URL. And so it's like a soft R almost. So this is also the reason why the character from One Piece, Zoro, is sometimes referred to as Zolo, because of the English pronunciation of the word. So fun fact for the day. Because that's what I was actually confused, because I was talking to friends about it, and in the English translation of One Piece, it's written out as Zolo. It's not written out as Zoro, which is his Japanese name. So
Interesting.
fun fact.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to have to do some research on that one.
Yeah. Extensive research on that one. Extensive. Like so much research on that one.
That is actually really interesting, though. I actually really do want to do research on that, because I really don't. I didn't know that.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening in today. It's been a really great episode, and thank you so much, both Hayley and Noah, for being the guests today. Super appreciate it. And of course, please don't forget to follow both of them on TikTok. Noah is at Noah Glows, and Hayley is at That One Weeb Who Vibes. And so please give them a follow, give them a like, go take a look at what they're doing. They both do really great content. So if you guys want to hear from us next week, of course, don't forget to follow us on TikTok at Hashira Half Hour. And we'll be back to continue the Shibuya Incident next week. But for right now, umai. Umai!
You know what? That just took mine away. So, umai, man.
Yo, Hayley, that was weak. Umai.
Listen, he stole it from me. He went umai, and I was like, damn, I can't even like summon that from me.
No,
I was like,
Rengoku speaks
umai.
to me. Rengoku's inside of me.
He does.
He's in here. He's in here. He's in my soul. He's in my soul.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
He's in